because of what Mike Shildt said publicly about Martin Maldonado, praising Martin Maldonado to the point of basically saying that this guy's IQ is just like Yadier Molina. I'm like, that's trouble for Luis Campusano.
Now, time for Jon and Jim.
What's going on, San Diego? Jon and Jim on a Tuesday. I have no idea if John's going to join the show today. He texted me, stay tuned. And I don't know what that means. I asked him, like, hey, can you join for a segment today? And he said, yeah, I'll call in or be set up by then. # stay tuned. So I have no idea what that means. So either we're just not going to talk to Jon today, or he's just going to randomly show up, or he's randomly going to text me and be like, the bus left, so I can't join you guys. So we'll see. But anyway, it doesn't really matter because it's a short show today, very short show. We're only going until 3:30 today because at 3:30, our coverage of the first four starts right here on your home for March Madness in San Diego. So 3:30 is when we're going to go to. 3:40 is the very first game of the day, and that will be St. Francis, PA against Alabama State. Big matchup, Brent. Huge matchup.
Alabama State has been in the news the last couple of days. Did you hear about what happened to them?
No, what happened?
Originally, they didn't think that they were going to get into the tournament, and there was another team that was going to go to the NIT, but they said they were going to refuse the invite. So the next NIT invite was going to go to South Alabama. But then the team who was originally offered the NIT invite changed their mind and said, oh, yeah, no, wait, we'll go. So then the NIT revoked their invitation to South Alabama. So until they got put into the Final Four or the first four there, they thought they were going to go to the NIT. Then they thought they were going nowhere.
Well, I don't think Alabama State's going to make a big run in this tournament.
What?
I have to check.
What is their mascot?
That's a great question. I have no idea.
I don't either.
Zero clue. Now, let's see here. If I'm looking where if they win this game, they would take on a 1 seed in the South. Looks like the South region. So I guess that would be Auburn. No, that's not Auburn. Hold on. Let me pull this up here.
They're the Hornets.
They're the Hornets. Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, I guess they would play Auburn if they win this game. Well, anyway, whoever wins the game that will be playing here on the station at 3:30 probably will be their only win of the tournament. And then following that game, of course, we have San Diego State against North Carolina. 5 p.m. is when our pregame coverage starts. 6:10 tip-off. And this line, Brent, you talked about it yesterday. It's been moving. Started out at 2.5, and it jumped to 3.5. Now we're at 4.5. Does that scare you at all out there? Again, it's a line. It's whatever. It's not that big of a deal. But I know that if you're an Aztecs fan, you look at that line, keeps going up and up and up. I particularly don't like that. Now, Magoon Guath will play tonight. It is official. How much will he play? That's to be determined. Don't know just yet. I presume he will start the game. I know he went through a full workout yesterday, but he was limited. But it's an all good to go for Magoon Guath tonight against North Carolina. But it's one of those things where you haven't played since, I think Dutch said February 22nd. I think that was when he got injured. You haven't played in almost a month. And now you got to go back out there against North Carolina. And you got to right away get back into the groove. It's going to be tough. So to expect to see the Magoon Guath that we all saw before he got injured for the last 6 or 7 games that he played this season, that's probably unlikely at the jump. But who knows? Maybe he does go out there and have, doesn't miss a step and just right back into the rhythm of things. I do think that Dutch will have a limit on Magoon tonight, unless it's a close game down the stretch and you just, you got to go out there, right? But to start out, to think that Magoon Guath tonight is just going to all of a sudden be that Magoon Guath that we all saw before he got injured, I'm not going to bet too much on that, but I do think he'll make a big difference tonight. It's like, would you want Magoon or not? Of course you want Magoon. Duh, it's a dumb question. It's just what are you going to get out of Magoon is the question tonight. I think defensively, yes, Magoon is going to make a difference tonight. But conditioning level, going right back out there, haven't played for a month, that's going to be something I think everyone's going to be looking at. And what are they going to get out of Magoon? So 5 p.m. pregame starts. 6:10 is when the tip is in Dayton. Look, I saw this a little bit yesterday. Like, why are we celebrating the Aztecs playing a first 4 game against North Carolina, a team that shouldn't even be there? Guys, okay, this is not some like constellation tournament to get into the NCAA tournament. This is the NCAA tournament. Now I know the traditionalist out there, 64 teams. Well, guess what? It's not 64 anymore. It's 68. It's been like this for how long?
It's going to be more soon.
It will be 72 here probably in the next 5 years. You'll bump this thing up to 72. You know, this is only going to start expanding. It's not going to take away teams. So I think if you are diminishing the fact that the Aztecs are in the tournament because they're in the first 4 and saying it doesn't count, I think you have to really like check yourself here, because what they accomplished this year should be celebrated. It absolutely should not be looked at as a slight. I think anybody out there that is saying that they didn't deserve to make the tournament is a hack and doesn't know college basketball, because this team absolutely did deserve to make this tournament. 100%. And if you're a person out there that is saying that they shouldn't have, then you're just a troll. Plain and simple. So once we move past the fact that they absolutely deserved it, they should be in this tournament. Their resume proved that they should be in this tournament. Let's not look at the first 4 as just like a consolation prize and compare it to like the NBA play-in tournament. That thing right there, that is, I mean, look, if you want to say, if you're like the I don't know, the Dallas Mavericks this year, right? Say you happen to make the play-in tournament as the 10 seed, like you back your way in. Yes, that team didn't technically make the playoffs, obviously. I feel like people are viewing the play-in tournament in the NBA like the first 4 of March Madness. Like, oh, it doesn't really count. Yes, it does. 100% counts.
Yeah, you can get the play-in tournament in the NBA with a below 500 record. You're not going to get into the first 4 or any 4 of the NCAA tournament unless you win your conference tournament with a losing record. So right. It's not the same thing.
Right. It's definitely not the team. Now, if you want to argue like North Carolina shouldn't be there, okay. But they're also favorites tonight, right? That's something that you have to look at as well. You know, if everyone's saying that North Carolina shouldn't be there, they are the favorites tonight against San Diego State. This is considered, if you look at the net rankings and everything, a quad 2 game for North Carolina, and they have been really good against quad 2 teams this year. And I think if you look at the matchup, you know, Dutch said it last night to the media, put the tape on, and he sees a team that can score at an elite level. They, yes, did not have any quality wins on their resume, but they also played like almost every number 1 seed in this tournament and almost every number. I mean, they played, their schedule was incredible. Now, the knock on them, and it's absolutely deserved, they didn't beat anybody in those big time games of their schedule. So because they didn't have any wins against a top team, they went 1-12. Their only win against a quad 1 opponent was against UCLA. And that was it. They lost to Duke 3 times. Like they lost to Florida, right? They did not have a quality win like the San Diego State Aztecs did in Houston this year. But at the end of the day, tonight, none of that matters. Like none of it matters. Because you think Do you think RJ Davis is gonna be like, man, we didn't have a quad one win. I'm not gonna go out and play my best basketball tonight. No, that's not what RJ Davis is thinking tonight. He's thinking, how can I put up 25 points and help my team advance? And he absolutely could do that. I mean, this guy is their best player. He's going to be a problem tonight. And when I'm looking at North Carolina and RJ Davis, like that is the first name that sticks out to you if you're a Aztecs fan. How can you slow down RJ Davis? Probably not going to be able to stop him, but how can you slow him down? So, I don't. The resumes are the resumes, but now once the ball's thrown up in the air, we have tip off at 6:10. Resumes don't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything. It doesn't. So I'm a little scared the fact that North Carolina is a 4.5-point favorite, but I do give the Aztecs a chance tonight. I do. I think Magoon back is going to help. I think the attitude of we have nothing to lose, that's going to help. Now, you could argue the same thing for North Carolina. They really got nothing to lose. They probably all feel like they got a second chance on life right here, right? Oh, we got a second chance. And usually sometimes, when you feel that way, you also play with nothing to lose. Oh, we got a second chance? We shouldn't be here? Okay, who cares? Let's go out and play our basketball free and easy. Here we go. So you have two teams tonight really with nothing to lose. I mean, if the Aztecs lose tonight, when we get back on the air, it won't be any, season's a failure. No. Now, North Carolina, they're probably thinking to themselves, like, their fans, like, this team made the tournament? Like, what? They're, like, embarrassed by this North Carolina team.
No, they would have been embarrassed if they went to the NIT. They still got in.
That is true. You're right. But also, being in the play-in game, I look at it as resumes mean nothing here, even though everybody is going to be rooting for San Diego State tonight, unless you're a Tar Heels fan. John said there's probably it's 65%, 70% Tar Heel fans there. Not a shocker at all.
No, they travel.
They travel well. Obviously, they're playing in Dayton, so the travel, it makes sense. I'll be interested to see how many San Diego State fans show up tonight to Dayton. I'll be curious to see if this is a close game with like 5 minutes to play. If it's like a 4-point game with 5 minutes to play, where's the crowd leaning? Unless it is really, truly a 70-30 split as far as Carolina fans to San Diego State fans tonight. Because the country watching this game tonight, no one's going to be rooting for North Carolina unless you're a Tar Heels fan. Because everybody thinks the same thing. They shouldn't be in. And for teams that people think shouldn't be in, guess what? You're not going to get anybody rooting for you.
It's March Madness, though. Even if Carolina, everyone thought they should be in, they would root for the underdog against the blue blood because it's March Madness, and that's just the way it goes. I don't even know who Kentucky plays, but whoever they're going to root against Kentucky because it's the tournament, and everyone always roots against the big bloods. It's Cinderella time, Jim.
I know it's Cinderella time, and that's what I love about March Madness. Like you said, Brent, it's always root against Kentucky's, the Dukes, North Carolinas, right? Always root against those teams. But we get going today at 3:30. First game tips off at 3:40, and of course, San Diego State tonight at 6:10. All right, coming up in the show today. Again, it's a quick show. We're only going at 90 minutes. Chris Hodge is going to join us at 2:30. John is going to join us, I think, sometime during the show. Who knows? But we'll hear from him. Also, the West Virginia governor sounds like an idiot. You'll hear from him. Also, coming up next, why the Padres spring training lineup today signals, okay, we're done with spring training. We'll talk about that coming up next. it to opening day, Brent. We almost made it to opening day without any serious injury concerns. We are 10 days. 10 days. Let me just make this sure. No, we are, what's here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes, 10 days away from opening day. We were this close.
Did John pull a hamstring?
No.
In Dayton?
No, he didn't. And if he did, I wouldn't care.
Oh, you're talking about the Padres, not us.
No. Kevin Acee 3 minutes ago. Darvish played catch today. However, Mike Shildt revealed today that Darvish experienced elbow inflammation after his last start. Shildt called Darvish's status day-to-day, but could not rule out it could affect the start of his season. I think you meant to say if it could. Okay, so talking to Kevin yesterday, asking about fatigue, and he mentioned that it's just hey, body fatigue. You're in the part of spring training where you're so close to the season. You might want to rest up because it's going to be a long 6-month journey here. And also, if there were anything involving, inflammation or elbow or shoulder, then the antennas would go up and we would maybe go to red alert. Maybe not like full red alert, but like it would not be something you'd want to see if you're a Padres fan. Anything involving inflammation with an elbow in this organization does not end well most of the time.
My hand is already hovering over the DEFCON button.
It's just like, are we ready to push it? Are we ready to push it? Man, this is a bummer. Because look, I'm not going to say this is going to turn into the worst case scenario, which is the loss of potentially Darvish for the season or a period of time or, a month or two, whatever, right? But especially with this organization, my ears always perk up, always, whenever I see X player and elbow inflammation with the pitcher. Always, 100%. There's not one instance with this franchise over the last, decade that I've been covering it, where a pitcher is said to have elbow inflammation and it be completely 100% fine. Maybe there's a couple instances, there's a couple examples, but all in all, I don't like seeing that. I don't. Elbow inflammation with a pitcher that, he's not your opening day starter and he's not your number 1 or number 2 starter in your rotation, but he's a very big piece of your rotation. He's a guy that you didn't have for a lot of last year. And then when he came back at the end of the season, you saw how valuable Darvish was, especially in the postseason. He was their best pitcher other than that Michael King first start against the Braves. He was at least their most consistent, especially in that Dodgers series. He didn't pitch in the Braves series. But if this turns into anything, I mean, knock on wood, it doesn't. But if it does turn into anything, then it's a concern right off the bat. And that's the one thing in spring training that you wanted to avoid at all costs. Any injury concern, right? I don't care about what they do as far as wins and losses goes. It does not matter. I don't care if Manny Machado has only 1 hit in spring. Roster battles I look at because, well, they're trying to win a roster spot. And so they're going out there trying to perform. Manny Machado's not going out there being like, I got to have a 300 batting average in spring. He doesn't care. And so that was the one thing that was the biggest concern is, can they get to the start of the regular season healthy? And then you go from there. Injuries are always going to happen in a baseball season. It's 100% a guarantee. The team on opening day will not look like the team at the end of the season. So already Darvish is now an injury concern. And going into the season, now this bumps up guys like Kolek and Hart potentially into the rotation, both of those guys, not just one of them. Because Kolek and Hart seemingly were battling for the fifth starter spot. Now, depending on the health of Darvish and this elbow inflammation that Mike Shildt is talking about, maybe we get to the start of the regular season and Hart and Kolek are in the rotation. I at this point in time, anytime like I see elbow inflammation, I think, okay, probably going to the IL. Like you're not just going to all of a sudden pitch 5 days later when your manager is expressing elbow inflammation. It doesn't happen. Could be wrong, but it just doesn't happen. So we'll talk more about that coming up later in the show. Again, it's just a quick show today. Only 90 minutes, going until 3:30 because at 3:30 we have the start of our coverage of the NCAA tournament first 4 games. But coming up next, Chris Hodge is going to join us to talk everything about the tournament and his free plays for tonight. Stay with us right here on Jon and Jim. All right, this update is brought to you by Rapid Radios. Aztecs, they take on North Carolina tonight, 6:10 tip-off. John has the pregame at 5 p.m. right here on San Diego Sports 760. Before that game, it's the St. Francis PA versus Alabama State game, 3:40 tip time. Our coverage starts of the first four at 3:30. And this just in, Mike Shildt announcing today that Darvish is dealing with elbow inflammation. Right now, he is day-to-day, no decision yet if you'll miss the start of the regular season. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage and no subscription ever. A great alternative to a mobile phone for your kids. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com now for 60% off and free UPS shipping. Add code radio, you get an extra 5% off. All right, so we'll hear from Mike Shildt coming up at 2:45. But right now, it's great to have Chris Hodge from Taking Vegas join us here again on Jon and Jim. Chris, it's just me today. Jon is in Dayton, Ohio for I guess a basketball game tonight, I think. So
I mean, at least he's not on vacation.
Right.
He's actually working tonight, kind of an important game.
If his wife during March Madness asked him if he wanted to go to Park City, Utah, there would be some serious problems. There would be no way in hell Jon would ever miss the beginning and the start or any games to say the least of March Madness. So yeah,
as it should be,
definitely. Chris, I last week I wanted to go just to last week real quick because I want to get like the how you go through this process. So last week you had Denver. And the line was released at -7. It closed at -9, and it won by 8. How does that go for you when you're doing that, and all of a sudden the line changes, and then boom, right in the middle?
Sometimes that's very frustrating because the one thing we can't control is a line movement. Like it's either going to move or it's not. Now we have a lot of guys betting games, and they tend to drive the game up. But, we released, when I did the show with you, we released Denver. They were -7. That was the text pick. Then it went up to 8, closed at 9, and naturally they win by 8. So it's a win, push, loss, like for anyone who bet that game. So I just claim it as a push. I'm not going to take the win. I'm not going to take the loss, just for records. So listen, the last 23 times I've done this, I'm 18-4-1. I can't do much better than that. And tonight we have North Carolina and San Diego State, which I think you guys might be interested in.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Right, just a little, right? Text the word win to the number 545454. Again, that's text win to 545454. And that pick is absolutely free tonight.
All right, so again, text win to 545454. The free pick tonight is a game that we'll all be watching here in San Diego, North Carolina, against San Diego State, 6:10 tip-off time there. All right, so when the brackets come out, going through each, I guess, region here, how does the process go? And also, what potential upsets could we be looking at here, Chris?
All right, so we'll go right down. We'll start with the Auburn, and I'll just take the number 1 seed so you guys know, because everyone gets confused with Southwest, East, and Midwest. So We'll just go with the Auburn bracket. I think a potential upset is another team from your area. I think San Diego, UC San Diego could really upset Michigan. I think Michigan, having played, through that Big Ten tournament, which was very physical, the line is telling you that UC San Diego is alive in that game. Michigan's opened up at 3.5 and came down to 2.5. So I think that's a 5-12, which is a potential matchup. We know the 5-12s are always nightmares, right? So I think that's a problem. I think the easiest blowout there in the first round of that bracket is I don't see how Yale stays with Texas A&M. Now, I know they're going to run that backdoor nonsense that Yale runs and, try to slow the game down for, the first 20 minutes of that game. But fact of the matter is Texas A&M is just too big for them. They're just too athletic. Their guards shoot the ball too well, and they can beat you inside. Texas A&M makes their free throws in that game. They're going to run through that team. So I think that's the easiest matchup there in the first round. I think a potential upset is UC San Diego. And then the team I have coming out of that bracket, I actually have Texas A&M defeating Auburn in the Sweet 16. I have A&M playing Michigan State in the Elite 8, and I got Michigan State coming out of that bracket. So I think for the Auburn bracket, I think Michigan State's a pretty good bet there.
Wow. Okay. So Michigan State out of the South region. When you look at, I guess, the Florida is a trendy pick to win the national championship. How good is Florida? Like, how good are they?
Florida's a great team. I don't think they're as good as Duke. To be honest with you, now you have the health issue with Duke going on with Cooper Flagg. We'll get to that in a moment. I think the Florida bracket. First, let me say this: I think Florida's going to come out of their bracket. I think they're the best team, they're the most complete team. But I do believe that's the hardest overall bracket. I mean, you got teams everywhere. So look, Florida's going to get past Norfolk State, and then they're probably going to play UConn. Now they're better than UConn. But UConn's the defending two-time national champion, right? UConn can give them a problem in that game. So that's Florida's second-round game, which is not going to be easy. And then you probably have a Maryland team. I think Maryland at the 4. By the way, the 5-12 in that bracket, I have the 12 winning that too. I think Colorado State, in fact, they're now favored in that game. I think Colorado State will get past Memphis. Memphis hasn't impressed me all year long. Maryland is a very good basketball team, so I like that. And then, when you go to the lower part of the bracket, you got Texas Tech, Missouri, Kansas, and St. John's as the top 4 teams there, and those are 4 very good basketball teams. Kansas could beat you on their best day. They haven't been playing good ball, but they could beat you. I think it's Florida, Texas Tech in the Elite 8, and I got Florida coming out of the bracket. But I think there's pitfalls all over that bracket. And I think that's going to be a tough one. I think Florida gets through it, but I think they get through it with a tough UConn win, a tough Maryland win, and then I think that Florida-Texas Tech game could be great in the Elite 8.
All right, moving over to the Houston bracket, a team that San Diego State beat this year, and truthfully, probably the reason why they're in the tournament this year. But how do you see that Midwest region breaking down?
I believe this is the easiest bracket to call. I don't believe there's going to be big upsets in this particular bracket. Now, McNeese State could give Clemson all their worth. I think Clemson will eventually win that game. I don't think it's going to be easy for them. That's a 5-12. I do believe Clemson will win that game. I don't really see much upsets there. Purdue's going to beat High Point. Kentucky's going to beat Troy State. Illinois, Texas, Xavier, whoever comes out of that. Not really upset. I think it's really going to play out in terms of the seedings. I got Houston playing Clemson in the Sweet 16. Kentucky playing Tennessee. That's a 2-3 matchup. I have Houston playing Tennessee in the Elite 8. That's a 1-2 matchup. And I just think Houston will beat Tennessee. I think both teams are very good, obviously defensively, but Houston has added some offensive firepower to their arsenal this year. So I think I got the one coming out of that. I think they beat Tennessee. And again, not many upsets coming out of that bracket. I think it's going to be mainly the higher seed, with the exception of a couple games like Clemson number 5, Purdue number 4. I think Clemson will beat them, but nothing crazy in terms of Troy State beating Kentucky. I don't believe that's going to happen. So Houston coming out of that bracket.
And what about the East region with Duke as the number 1 seed there?
So now here's the thing. Now Duke's healthy. So if you look at the Ken Palm rankings, right, Duke is the only team that ranks in the top 10 in net offense and net defense. So the number 3 in net offense, the number 4 in net defense, right? So that's pretty hard to compete with, because they can beat you 86-82 and they can beat you 57-55, right? So there's not many teams that could do that. Again, it comes down to Cooper Flagg. Now, if you've ever played basketball, and people out there listening, I don't care what the trainers do, and I don't care what you get injected with, right? A bad sprained ankle, that is a pain in the neck injury. Mm-hmm. That is not an injury that you just step on the court and you're able to play at a high level. Now, they proved they could win without him, but look, they beat a North Carolina team that probably shouldn't be in this tournament. Their athletic director, that's a whole other story. Okay. And then, Louisville, they were losing at halftime and they played a great second half. If they're healthy, they run through that bracket. If they're healthy. If they're not, there's some pitfalls for them too, starting in round 2 with Baylor. Baylor can give them problems. Now, the problem with Baylor's not deep. But Baylor could give them a problem if Duke isn't healthy. And then it's either going to be Oregon or Arizona waiting for them in the Sweet 16. That's not easy. Mm-hmm. Either one of those teams could beat Duke. And then if you get through that, it looks like Alabama's going to be the team waiting for you. Alabama makes their threes. That's hard. So I'm going to go with this. I'm going to go with Duke is healthy, Cooper Flagg is okay, and they get through the bracket. If he's not, I'm going to have Alabama coming out of that bracket. I can't predict injuries, guys. I do my best. I'm not a doctor, but I'll go with, if they're healthy, Duke comes out. If they have problems going forth, I think Bama will be the team that come out of that bracket.
All right, so Duke, if healthy, in the Final Four.
The best I could do, right?
Right, yeah.
Sound great, but
yeah, exactly, yeah. No one can guess injuries and how people are feeling. And then you have Houston, Florida, and Michigan State, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, so there's your final four there. Do you want to take a crack at who's your national champion?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Florida, and I think it's Florida no matter who they face. Look, they just won the best conference in America. That SEC. Now, you could argue whether they should have had 14 teams go to the tournament. That's fine, but they are the best team. They are the best conference in the country, and that team won that conference. They are good. They are 9 deep. They're big. They're small. They can beat you in many different ways. And I just think, it looks like they'd play Michigan State in the Final Four if my bracket comes to fruition. Michigan State is not big enough to beat them. And then I don't believe Houston could score enough to beat them. That's why I have. So in the national title game, I have Florida playing Houston, and I believe Florida's going to win it.
Well, we can't wait. Again, coverage of the first four starts at 3:30 right here. And then tonight we have San Diego State against North Carolina. Chris, again, can you give out the number and the free pick for tonight and everything that fans can go and check you guys out?
Yeah, so we've kept it the same the whole year long here. 23 shows, the last 23 that I've done. I'm 18-4-1 with these free picks. Obviously, North Carolina, San Diego State is a big game tonight. Text the word WIN to the number 545454. That's absolutely free. So just text the word WIN to the number 545454. That pick will be sent back to you instantly. And then we're going to have some big picks lined up on Thursday and Friday. My office is doing double time this week, breaking down all these games, these brackets. It's nice that what I just did, I just told you, hey, this is who I feel is going to come out of each bracket, this, that, and the other. What I didn't do is tell you who's going to cover. So from a gambling perspective,
right, that's smart. There you go.
You need to know who's going to cover.
Yeah.
So you could text the word WIN to the number 545454, get this free pick. And then if you want to come on board for our tournament service, you just give us a call. The number will be in the text, and we'll do our best to help you out.
All right. Love it, Chris. Enjoy the games, and we'll talk to you soon, man.
Good luck tonight, guys. All right. And thank you for having me on as always.
Absolutely. Chris Hodge there taking Vegas. All right. Coming up next, we're going to hear from Mike Shildt. He has spoke to the media. You'll hear him talk about the recent elbow inflammation of Darvish. Coming up next right here on Jon and Jim.
All right, so what could you do with an extra $75,000 right now, or even a couple $100,000? If you own a home, you can get that money in less than a week with Loan Pronto. Hey guys, it is Schaefer. Loan Pronto is the leader in quickly converting your home equity into cold hard cash, so you can pay off all your credit cards or start that home remodel. Loan Pronto has several easy options to let you access the cash from your home. There's virtually no paperwork, no cumbersome process, no junk fees, often no appraisal. Listen, the average homeowner now has over $300,000 in equity. That's your money. Use it. One client got $150,000 out and paid off all their credit cards, 2 car loans, and a personal loan, cutting their monthly expenses by $1,500. You can get approved in as little as 1 day. So act now with no hard credit pull up front. LoanPronto.com or 619-207-4336. Get the money you need for anything. 619-207-4336. LoanPronto.com. Equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval. NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
All right, so Mike Shildt spoke to the media about a half hour ago. And I don't think anybody was expecting him to say this about Yu Darvish, but listen to Mike Shildt when asked for an update on Yu Darvish's fatigue.
Got a little elbow inflammation post the game the other day. Again, some general fatigue associated with it. It's taking some time. Just got through playing catch. Feedback's a little bit early, but, talking to medical, we'll see how he recovers from it. Give him a couple more days. The alarm factor, we don't feel like we don't know what it is exactly, but he did have some elbow tightness, and he's got through playing catch, was a good sign, and we'll take it day to day.
At this point, this would seem to be possible to affect.
It's possible that it could affect the beginning of the season. Not saying it's definite, but it's definitely possible. Yes. But he's, through played catch today, so that's encouraging.
Has he had any imaging, or will he go for an MRI or anything like that?
Yeah, that's something for the medical department. If we want to release that as an organization, I'm not aware of that ability to share that.
How do you feel about where you are with your starting pitching depth right now? Some of the options you have in camp.
We do have good options. That part's good. We've got an opening day starter. We already had two. We chose Michael based on the days. We got Cease, obviously, and, we're really been very pleased with Pavetta and what he's doing and what he's going to do. Kolic's going to throw today. He's had a really good spring. I wasn't able to see it, but the feedback I got from people I trust highly, including our general manager, feels really good about Mr. Hart. Ruben was very encouraged as well. And Vasquez pitched for us last year and did a great job and has, been better as the camp has gone. So a lot of good options. And then you have, Matt Waldron, who has recovered. I haven't shared that in that 24 to 48 hour period we had talked about. But that initial 24 and now 48-hour period has been very, very favorable for Matt. Still going to be some downtime, but overall, big picture, as good as it could have been.
Do you have any idea when he might throw?
I'm not sure when he's going to throw. We're still, a week away from just making sure it's healed, not having that setback we talked about early on. But it's sooner than we anticipated, but we don't have a firm date.
We don't know what it is exactly. Probably not the best thing to hear from Mike Shildt regarding this elbow inflammation that has popped up with Yu Darvish.
Well, I believe the medical term is
Little ouchie?
Little ouchie? Yeah, he has a little ouchie. Now, this could be more than a little ouchie. I think the little ouchie was in reference to a Jackson Merrill last year. And it was truly a little ouchie. It didn't really
little ouchie.
Yeah, it didn't bother him at all. But this might be more than just a little ouchie. Yeah, it's concerning. I mean, you can tell by the tone of people's voices just which direction like this is going to go. That did not seem like a classic Mike Shildt upbeat, positive, his positive self. It just didn't. That leaned more towards the we're concerned about this one.
Texter brings up a good point. There's no way Cease gets traded now, at least not early on, like the rumors are saying.
No chance. I don't think he was going to get traded regardless. But that again, I said yesterday that would be suicide for your season if you traded Dylan Cease 10 days before opening day. Even more so if you traded Dylan Cease now with the uncertainty of Yu Darvish and this elbow inflammation that he's dealing with. And as Mike Shildt said, they don't really know what it is exactly. He played catch today, which is a positive, right? But I mean, when you're describing an injury as we don't know what it is exactly, that's not great.
That's never something you want to hear from a doctor.
We don't really know what it is exactly.
Know.
Like my leg is like bent the other way. We don't really know what it is exactly. Something going on in your gut. We don't really know what it is exactly. So that is something to keep an eye on for sure. And that goes right to the top of our list now of things that we are now concerned about going into the Padres regular season. I was it was too good to be true, Brent. We were 10 days away from getting to opening day with a fully healthy roster. We were 10 days away. I'm not going to count Matt Waldron and his oblique issue. Sorry, Matt. But as far as everything else goes, it seemed like it was all good to go for opening day. And then now this thing pops up 10 days out.
Maybe this year it'll just be the opposite. The last couple of years, it's like we're healthy. Oh, what? The playoffs started. Oh, everyone get hurt. So now maybe, he'll get hurt at the beginning of the year and then he'll be able to go towards the end. Maybe it'll be the opposite this year.
I don't want anybody to get injured. I don't want it. I mean, it's inevitable that somebody and good amount will get injured this season, and then just the wear and tear of a baseball season. Just ask Manny Machado. These things were inevitable, but going into this season, you wanted to start out on a good note. You wanted to start out on the right foot. And looking at their rotation yesterday or 2 days ago, before the news of the fatigue by Darvish, you're thinking to yourself, all right. And I was thinking this too. I was saying, look, the top of their rotation feels like a strength with King and Darvish and Cease and Pivetta. It feels like a strength because you have a 1 through 4 that you can count on every fifth day. And maybe it was foolish to think that Darvish could give you 30 starts this year. I said the other day, if he gives you 26, I would love that. I don't know if he can do that. I mean, his age, his wear and tear, now the elbow inflammation to start the season. Hearing from Mike Shildt there, I don't like hearing Mike Shildt sound like that. I'm not going to look at it as the DEFCON 1, like we are, oh my God, but it's definitely something to be concerned about.
Well, you brought up like Shilt's tone. This is something that it's kind of inside baseball, pun intended, that the listeners can't see, but the wave form of him talking, when Kevin asked that last question about if they had a timetable, it went from like being up and high to like very low to
like
where
we don't know,
to where like you can tell that his tone just totally changed. It was like, yeah, we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. All right. So John's going to join us coming up next. He's going to join us from Dayton to give us a preview of tonight's matchup. Also his thoughts on this elbow inflammation with you, Darvish. Again, short show today, going to 3:30 as we are getting ready for the first 4 games here to start off the NCAA tournament. St. Francis, PA against Alabama State at 3:30. And then tonight, San Diego State against North Carolina at 6:10. Stay with us right here on Jon and Jim. All right, this update is brought to you by Rapid Radios. Tonight, San Diego State takes on North Carolina. 6:10 tip time. Pregame starts at 5 p.m. right here on San Diego Sports 760. Before that game, it's St. Francis, PA versus Alabama State. 3:40 tip time. Our coverage starts at 3:30. And Mike Shildt saying earlier this afternoon that Darvish is dealing with elbow inflammation. It's still to be determined if he will make the season or be put on the IL. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage and no subscriptions ever. A great alternative to a mobile phone for your kids. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com now for 60% off and free UPS shipping. And code radio, get extra 5% off.
Previously on Jon and Jim.
I think if I was Luis Campusano, I would be nervous right now. And one of the biggest things why I would be nervous is because of what Mike Shildt said publicly about Martin Maldonado. Praising Martin Maldonado to the point of basically saying that this guy's IQ is just like Yadier Molina. I'm like, uh-oh, that's trouble for Luis Campusano.
Now, time for Jon and Jim.
All right, final 30 minutes of the show today. Our coverage of the NCAA Tournament First Four gets going at 3:30. Jon is at the arena right now, getting ready for the game tonight. Jon, where were you when you saw this Darvish news? Did you freak out or what's going on? Did you even see the news yet or no?
Yeah, I was in Dayton, Ohio.
Oh, nice. That's great.
That's where I was, and that's the thing with spring training. I mean, that's why you cross your fingers all spring, knowing that starting pitching is the whole purpose, to build these pitchers up and make sure they're available to you from day one. And there's a varying degree of concern based on what it is. I mean, if it's fatigue or something of insignificance that costs you a start or two, you absolutely can live with it. But you start getting into weeks or longer, and it's going to be a big concern. And it should at least be concerning because of his age and because of what they're saying right now. So I'm concerned. I wouldn't say I would be overly concerned as of yet, but I think there's real reason to be concerned. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like when Shildt says we don't know what it is exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, no doubt.
Huh?
Yeah.
It's those are things you don't want to hear. All right, getting to tonight's game. We were texting a little earlier. It's pretty dominant North Carolina fan base right now in Dayton, would you say?
I mean, there was the open practice yesterday, and they easily had the most fans, which makes sense as such a national brand. And we're not terribly far. I mean, it is probably drivable. It's not close, but probably something you could do in, half a day or something like that. If you wanted to, you could fly up here. And, it's a prominent brand. I don't know how many bigger blue bloods have been here for this event, truthfully. Like, I don't know if Kansas or Kentucky has played here. I don't believe Duke has played here. So, it's a big brand to be in Dayton. I think people are excited about that. Obviously, the national narrative is people want to see North Carolina go down. I think in the building, the people that are here from Dayton are probably going to be pulling for San Diego State, but then you'll have this contingent of Carolina fans. I'm fascinated. I don't know if it's going to be 2,000 Carolina fans or 8,000 Carolina fans or something in between. It seats about 13,000. I'd imagine they probably have a few thousand fans in the building. So it'll probably feel like a neutral site game, because I would imagine a lot of the people from Dayton will pull for San Diego State, considering how the whole bracket and selection process played out. But there's no doubt there'll be a lot of Carolina fans here.
What are you expecting from Magoon tonight? I know he's going to be playing. He's suiting up. Yep. Dutch talked about it yesterday during his media session. But what should Aztecs fans, I guess, expect tonight from Magoon, who hasn't played in almost a month?
Yeah, I mean, it is the true question of the tournament for San Diego State, at least heading into it. What does he look like? He's absolutely available and will play. I don't know if he will start or not. I think you can make an argument for him either starting or coming off the bench. And again, he's kind of dealing with that knee. So I don't know if that makes it more likely that he warms up and starts, or more likely that he warms up and comes off the bench. I would just expect him to be used maybe in a little bit of shorter stints. North Carolina's a really high-paced, up-tempo team, one of the higher-paced teams in the country, a little bit like New Mexico. They really want to force pace. And Magoon, like you said, I mean, he's been out for 3 weeks. He has been working out, but I mean, to get into game shape when you're coming off an injury, you would think his minutes might be limited in terms of like his usage per time out there. You know what I mean? If he's normally out there 4 or 5 minutes, maybe he's out there 2-3 minutes. Or if he's normally out there 6 minutes, maybe he's out there for 4 minutes at a time. But I think we see a lot of them. I don't know exactly what he's going to look like. Just maybe he'll have to shake off some rust. It's not like he's a fifth-year player and has played 100 college games. He's really only played like 20 or 25 college games. But he's absolutely going to be utilized. I'd expect him to play a good amount of minutes. And hopefully he looks like we saw him the last time we saw him, which was like one of the better players in the Mountain West.
And the whole thing is predicated on just like what's happening in the game. If he's having a good game, it's a close game, with 5 minutes to play, 4-point game. Like, I think they might push it, right? With Magoon.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's the same stuff we've talked about a lot in the regular season. I think now applies in the postseason where, even Magoon, who, maybe you do limit his minutes, but you want to keep him out of foul trouble. You want to avoid as a team some ticky-tack stuff or in the backcourt. You don't want to allow more free throws attempted by North Carolina than you're going to make here tonight. You have to be good on the glass. Like the things that we've been talking about still apply. North Carolina's a very good rebounding team. They're not the best. Boise's a better rebounding team, and Boise really took advantage of that on San Diego State. But, North Carolina's strategy to win this game is to get out in transition and outscore San Diego State, and the Aztecs have to slow the game down, win it with defense, force one and dones with UNC, not allow easy second chance points, stay out of foul trouble, keep them off the line. So these are the things that when the Aztecs have been good, they've been really good. And then when they haven't been good in those areas, they haven't really found ways to necessarily answer.
And from, looking at North Carolina, RJ Davis is the number one priority, right?
He is, but the more you watch them, you can imagine what kind of skill they have there. Yes, by their standards, of course, a disappointment to be on the bubble and maybe, be on the outside looking in until they got basically a gift to be in the tournament. They're uber talented. 4 and 5-star players everywhere. They lost a lot inside from their national championship team and preseason number 1 teams. Armando Bacot, who was with those teams for a couple of years, but RJ Davis was with him. Davis was in the national championship as a freshman in 2022. Last year, he averaged 22 points per game. This year, he's averaging 17 points per game. But he's one of those guys, he alone can just kill you. Like if it's a night where he goes 6 of 7 from 3, I just don't know how you counter something like that. So, but they have good wings. He's a penetrator and then a disher, and their wings are athletic as you'd expect for North Carolina, and they're a good 3-point shooting team. I don't know if they're elite, but they shoot it well enough to definitely cause problems. And we've seen that with the Aztecs. If they allow 12 made threes in the game, it's a problem. If you keep it to 8 or 9, I think you give yourself a chance.
Don't you feel like tonight for the Aztecs it's like house money? You could say the same thing about North Carolina because everybody thinks they should not be there. But same applies for San Diego State, right?
Yeah, I do agree with that. And I hope they play like that. You know what I mean? Like I want to see a confident, loose group that is willing to play confidently, which means like you got to take a risk. You don't have to play perfectly. You have to play confidently. I would say this. I think North Carolina is going to be incredibly motivated. They've heard what everyone has said. Like you can't avoid that.
Yeah.
It's a national story that's playing out across sports, not just college basketball. Like why are they in the field?
It's in politics,
I think they're
Jon.
What's that?
It's going to the political landscape
Politics,
now.
yeah, exactly. Governors are suing.
Yeah.
NCAA. Exactly. It's a great point. So I think they'll try to quiet the noise by playing well. I don't think they are just like, now that we're in, we're content to be in. I really think they're out probably to prove a lot of people wrong. That would be my guess. I'd be very surprised if San Diego State didn't see a pretty motivated North Carolina team here today. But I'm with you on the Aztecs. Just to get to this spot with this young team, without Reese Waters, without Magoon blocks for a long time, just take your best punch. And if that's good enough, they'll move on. And if it's not, you'll begin the offseason and transition towards 25-26.
And especially with a young team, it's really nice to like lean on the fact that your head coach has so much experience in this tournament, right? Like, he knows every situation there possibly is, even though he mentioned last night, this is kind of new for him, like being in the first 4 and the quick travel after selection Sunday and then getting on a plane and practicing the next day. Like this is still new for Dutch, but it also is nice knowing if you're one of these kids, like you can lean on your head coach when, if this thing is close down the stretch.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I have no idea how many games he's coached in the NCAA tournament as an assistant or a head coach, but it is a fortune of games, right? Even the last 2 years, coached in 6 and 3 is 9. He had 3 other games. 12 as the head coach of San Diego State, plus tonight is 13. Plus oh, I don't know, a few dozen across Michigan and San Diego State with Coach Fisher. I mean, there have been some classics with Michigan and North Carolina if you go back 30 plus years as well. So, I mean, he's been through everything. You're 100% right. He has seen every possible scenario that can play out. He's a constant. He'll be able to ride the highs and lows of this game, and there will be highs and lows. This could be a streaky game where North Carolina makes a run and you have to answer. Obviously, the Aztecs cannot afford a drought like that against Boise. Like that will not fly basically against any good team, but certainly against a team that can score like North Carolina. But there's going to be ebbs and flows to this game. This will not be some, smooth sailing 40-minute, you lead all night and win by 11 points. So that would very much surprise me.
Yeah, I don't think San Diego State has played North Carolina in the March Madness, have they?
No, they've only played them twice ever.
Okay.
And the last time was in 1990. So it's been forever. They actually played at the Sports Arena in 1988. But yeah, it has been absolutely forever. And, it'll be interesting to see because there's really no familiarity. The one thing I found interesting is Nick Boyd, in his media availability actually in San Diego 2 days ago on Selection Sunday, said, North Carolina came to Boca in the preseason last year when I was at FAU and they scrimmaged us like in a closed door scrimmage. And he's like, I'm not going to lie, they kind of boat raced us, or like said something about their guard play, how good it was. But Nick Boyd's been on the floor before with RJ Davis and some of these North Carolina guards. So there'll be that familiarity. Like it won't be completely new for Boyd. And, Bird is, I just think it's a brilliant opportunity for Miles Bird because I think Miles Bird on a national stage can potentially show out in a situation like this. So I think the Aztec guards are perfectly suited to deal with these North Carolina guards. But again, it's not going to be an easy task, but I think it's one that is going to be fun to watch play out.
And you said there, I didn't even realize this. Like there is real history with Dutch in North Carolina, dating back to the Fab Five days in the national championship. Like, so that's kind of got to be a weird feeling, right? Like, the last time that he was coaching against North Carolina, I would assume the last time he coached against North Carolina was those Fab Five national championship game, right?
I don't know if it was or not. I was actually trying to do some quick research on that last night. There was like a 4 or 5 year period where Michigan and North Carolina locked horns in the tournament a few times, including in that national championship. But I think Michigan went through them a couple times on the way to a Final Four. So there was real history. But again, it's like, it's almost a lifetime ago. I mean, if you're Dutcher, you weren't at San Diego State and, you're talking about the late 80s, early 90s. I mean, you're 30 plus years removed. So it's different teams, different players, different uniforms, different everything. I mean, everything has changed over those 30 years. But yeah, I mean, if you get down to it, there's certainly history.
Absolutely. Last thing here, John, is tonight a must-win game?
Depends how you look at it.
It depends how you look at it.
It is. I mean, if they win, they head to Milwaukee. If they lose, they'll head to the hotel and head back to San Diego tomorrow. So,
are you concerned? Are you concerned at all that this line has gone up to 4.5 now in favor of North Carolina?
No, it doesn't surprise me because again, some of the numbers with San Diego State on the margins haven't been good this year, right? Like when they'll win. When they should win by 16, they win by 12, or when they should win by 8, they win by 3. And when they're a dog by 4, they lose by 8. You know what I mean? Like they just haven't always been good with those numbers. Also, there's going to be a lot of public money on North Carolina because of the familiarity with their team, because it's constantly on television. It opened at 2.5. I think the actual metrics would support North Carolina favored by probably something like 2 or 3 points. But I think the money has betted up to 4.5 points. But I think metrically speaking, if you look at the two teams on paper, you're probably looking at something like 2 points between them, especially with Magoon back. You're probably looking at something like 2 to 3 points.
All right. 5 p.m. is when our pregame coverage starts. 6:10 tip-off in Dayton. Make sure to tune in because this is, could be potentially, we hope it's not, obviously, Ted's last game calling San Diego State basketball, but we hope that continues because if they do win, they'd play Friday against Ole Miss. But make sure to tune in tonight to Ted on the call and John on the pregame at 5 p.m. Good luck, buddy. I hope they win.
I appreciate you, man. Win it for Teddy.
Win it for Teddy. Yes. All right. There's John. There's John in Dayton, Ohio. All right. Coming up next, we mentioned that North Carolina making the tournament has now gone political. You'll hear from the West Virginia governor and just how cringy he sounds coming up next.
All right, so what could you do with an extra $75,000 right now, or even a couple $100,000? If you own a home, you can get that money in less than a week with Loan Pronto. Hey guys, it is Schaefer. Loan Pronto is the leader in quickly converting your home equity into cold hard cash, so you can pay off all your credit cards or start that home remodel. Loan Pronto has several easy options to let you access the cash from your home. There's virtually no paperwork, no cumbersome process, no junk fees, often no appraisal. Listen, the average homeowner now has over $300,000 in equity. That's your money. Use it. One client got $150,000 out and paid off all their credit cards, 2 car loans, and a personal loan, cutting their monthly expenses by $1,500. You can get approved in as little as 1 day. So act now with no hard credit pull up front. LoanPronto.com or 619-207-4336. Get the money you need for anything. 619-207-4336. LoanPronto.com. Equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval. NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
All right, final segment of the show. That was fast. Tomorrow's going to be even faster. Tomorrow, we are on at 2 o'clock, normal standard time, but we're only going to 2:30 tomorrow because we have SDFC midweek live from 2:30 to 3:30. And of course, our coverage of the first 4 will begin at 3:30, just like this afternoon here, about 10 minutes from now, St. Francis, PA against Alabama State. So I don't know if everybody knows this, but you know, the North Carolina thing, them being in the tournament, yes, everyone's pissed off about it, but now this thing's gone like political, like political to the point where you got the West Virginia governor West Virginia probably should have been in this tournament over North Carolina. The resume's better, and they were like it. I think the first team out of the tournament when you looked at the bracket. But listen to the governor of West Virginia cry about West Virginia not getting in the tournament.
I paid for my own college, so
that is not him. That is not him.
Selection Sunday, 111 out of the 111 bracketologists projected WVU to make the tournament. And for good reason. The selection committee for years has talked about the importance of quad one wins. Now, for those who don't know much about a quad one win, this is when you defeat a team ranked 1st through 75th. Obviously, it depends upon whether you're home, neutral site, or away. Well, West Virginia had 6 quad one wins. And that was combined with an undefeated record against quad 3 and quad 4 opponents. 3 wins against top 10 teams and the 24th toughest schedule in America. West Virginia deserved to be in the NCAA tournament. This was a miscarriage of justice and robbery at the highest levels. Now, who was the last team to get into the tournament ahead of the Mountaineers? That would be the University of North Carolina. Now, let's see how their resume stacks up. The Tar Heels went 1-12 in quad 1 games and even had a quad 3 loss. And we keep hearing about the importance of these quad 1 wins, but UNC couldn't even get more than 1. They also had the 25th toughest schedule in America, right behind WVU. Now, here's something you may not know. UNC had representation in the room during the selection process.
What?
Let me repeat that. UNC had representation in the room during the selection process. Bubba Cunningham is the athletic director for UNC. He also happens to be the head of the tournament selection committee. That's being reported by a number of outlets that Cunningham had a significant bonus incentive, at least $70,000 to get into the tournament, arguably more if they advanced, with more incentives on the way. And I want folks to let that sink in for just a minute. Of the 111 brackets that were projected pertaining to North Carolina, UNC was only in 27 of them. This stinks at the highest level.
Okay, so like he makes a very good point. Absolutely. West Virginia should be in over North Carolina. North Carolina should not be in. He makes a good point. But when it comes from the governor of the state, it just kind of falls on deaf ears because like nothing's going to happen. Like nothing will happen. There's no point in going and having a press conference to talk about this. If anything, the person that should be talking about this is the AD of West Virginia, not the governor of West Virginia.
Well, they just said on pregame too on True TV earlier. I think it's Seth Meyer or not Seth Meyer, but Greenberg. He explained it in a way that it made more sense, and especially listening to this again, he conveniently left out what their quad 2 record was.
They were really good with
because they said if you combine West Virginia and North Carolina's quad 1 and quad 2 games, they were within they're off by a game. So he conveniently left out their quad 2 record because that didn't benefit them and that would have made them look better. But yeah, he's just crying, and he had that stupid sign that said like the National Athletic Corrupt Association or something. He's just being a baby.
National Corruption Athletic Association.
I think this is worse than that lawmaker in Ohio that after Michigan beat them wanted to make it a law so that you can't go out and celebrate on the 50-yard line of the
Actually, I think that's
team.
worse. I think that's way worse because he's the West Virginia governor is just.
But he's calling for an investigation into it.
I think having it something become a law is more cringy than someone asking for an investigation into something. Again, nothing will happen. After tonight's game, whoever wins, guess what? Nobody will be talking about this again except for people in West Virginia. And as the weeks go on, whenever North Carolina loses, because they're going to lose at some point, hopefully it's tonight against San Diego State, nobody will care. Now I know there's bonuses involved with coaches and ADs and all this other stuff that, you know what, I don't care about. Does it look awful in North Carolina? Yeah, it does. And do I wish that they weren't in? Yeah, but they are, and they're taking on San Diego State tonight, and hopefully they lose tonight, and everybody in the country is going to be rooting for San Diego State. All right, coming up next, the start of our NCAA tournament coverage right here with the first four. St. Francis, PA versus Alabama State coming up next right here on San Diego Sports 760.